I think he only saw them once, and he walked out on them, and he said it was because they looked too happy.
Kurt Cobain saw Red Kross once, walked out on them because they looked too happy.
Way too happy, and it's like haunted them a little bit, so they finally like wrote that song in response, because it's just like
shit.
And they say it in the song, like, what did he even mean by that?
Honestly, what was it? Too much fun, Kurt? Or did it bring it too much joy into the room? Because that's how I feel when I watch them live. Welcome to Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my sleeveless In the Matrix. Damn, I was going to try to make a quippy line, and then I stumbled over my words. I suck.
You had
Fuck.
it. You had it.
Alexander Vold, say hello.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. So this is Every Album Ever, the podcast. We listen to every single album in the world, usually a whole new discography per episode, except for episodes like this, where we got to cover, to type some loose ends. We did a full episode. We finished all the band's albums, and then they put out a new album. And
yes,
that means, what are we covering today, Alex?
We're covering the latest album by Red Kross, and it's entitled Red Kross.
One of our most beloved and well-received episodes that we've ever done. Go check out our full episode on Red Kross. Of course, I say that in jest because of how viciously the reaction was to that episode by the fans of Red Kross. They hate us, Alex.
They do. So, one of their comments influenced me. Like, I was listening to a song, I was like, oh, I can get a little thing in here that I don't think is a jab, but they didn't take kindly to it last time, so I'm gonna.
You're throwing in there. Yeah, Alex is out for blood now. He's a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's gonna play dirty this time. I like Red Kross. I mean, I've liked them the whole time. I said almost nothing but nice things about them on the episode. I'm still a fan of Red Kross. I think they're one of the most fun bands to see live, for sure.
People hear what they want to hear. I'm now the man that hates Flipper, even though I...
That's true.
I thought...
To be fair, Alex, you were pretty pissed off for a lot of the episode. Check out last week's episode on Flipper.
I was pretty pissed off, but the first two albums are essential listening.
First two albums are essential listening. I think... what made it seem more like you hated them was how much fun Robert and I were having telling stories and joking, and you were just stone faced the whole time, which is I was admit, pretty funny.
Yeah, I was the wet blanket on that episode for sure.
It's still one of my favorite ones to do. Go check out the episode on Flipper from a few weeks back. But Red Kross. So where we left off was episode 164, by the way, was Beyond the Door, which came out in 2019, and I was actually a big fan of that album. I liked it. It was probably one of my favorite Red Kross albums. We both did not like Researching the Blues from 2012. We both thought it was their worst album, and we are apparently vehemently disagreed with by the Red Kross community. But I would argue, if that's not the worst one of the bunch, which is the game we play, what is? I couldn't. And with the release of Self-Titled, or the Red album, I think is what they're also calling it, I would stick with that. I don't think it's as good as Beyond the Door, but I think it's still better than Researching the Blues.
I think now that I didn't binge all their albums in one go, I was kind of able to just kind of let this one be. I don't love it, but I think for a band that's been around for 45 years,
yes, literally,
like this album, and like if you love their music, like this is quite the achievement for the band and their fans, I think. And I can say that, and I think that's totally fair, although I'm sure people will think otherwise.
They're for sure going to think otherwise. But I would say it's not, because it's not doing anything different. Red Kross pretty much does what Red Kross does. They love the Beatles. They love 60s garage rock, and they are not afraid to let you know. And if you're like irked by any kind of, I don't know what you would call it, retroness to songwriting, then you're going to be irked by this album, because it is 100% what it is, to use a douchebag line, but
also
it still has some great hooks.
Yeah, I think now that I said some nice things personally, it was a little grating towards the end, but there were some things that I thought were notable and stood out to me. I don't know why this album's an hour.
It is an hour. It is double the length of Beyond the Door,
And
which I was surprised by.
They've managed to cram 18 songs in this 1 hour, which is impressive. But yeah, I like the first half went down a little more smoothly for me than the second half.
I would say not quite the opposite, but I actually ended up preferring the second half quite a bit. So to peek behind the curtain, I mean, we've already told the story in past couple episodes, but Alex, you forgot to listen to this album 2 weeks in a row.
Yes, and I hesitated joking that I forgot to listen to it this week, but I was like, that's too mean. I can't do that.
I was heartbroken the first time. The second week, I was so blown away I couldn't help but laugh at it. If it would happen a third time, it would just have been a cursed album. But because of that, I ended up listening to this album a lot more times than we usually do for this podcast. Usually we do two, just to take notes and then give it another refresher.
I did try to catch up to you to be a little fair. I did get to four listens on it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And I found through multiple listens, not only liking the whole thing more, but certain things ended up just becoming earworms. There's some songs that on first listen, those are my favorite songs, and I can safely say like that's going to be my favorite thing from the whole album. But other stuff that I kind of jumped back and forth between, and then other things that I still can say I don't like, but there's something about them that I do appreciate. That if it's on, I'm not going to be upset that it's on. It's just doing a thing that I don't like, but it's not doing it badly. If I'm going to cite a song immediately that it's Good Times Propaganda Band, that's like the one that I think of. Like, I don't like that song, but I don't mind it if it's on. Like, I still I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that of course is like a nod to Sgt. Pepper's.
It's not shy about it.
No, it's not shy about it. The bass line is, very similar to Day Tripper. It doesn't sound like Sgt. Pepper's, but it is like firmly rooted in that Beatles worship. There's
a lot of Beatles worship here, and you hear it a lot on like the bass tones when you think of like the 60s garage rock bass tone, where it has like that kind of heavy on the mids sort of sound. And certain songs, it's like, fuck, that's rough. Like there's only like a couple of songs that I legitimately like dislike. The worst song on the album for me is Stuff, which I legitimately can't stand. But cause I mean, it's just so Beatlesy. But other songs, like The Main Attraction, I love. Like, I straight up fucking love that song.
Also, we cover a lot of negative bands on here. So The Main Attraction, it was just kind of nice to listen to an overtly positive song.
So positive, wonderfully catchy chorus. I love those fucking vocal harmony. I mean, it's a beautiful song.
Yeah. I didn't want to read like too many reviews, but also I couldn't find a lot of info on this. And after I listened to it, I did look at the Pitchfork review just for information, and I think the happy theme is on point. And I don't know if you saw this, but the song "Way Too Happy" was written because when Kirk, I think he only saw them once, and he walked out on them, and he said it was because they looked too happy.
Wait, who?
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain saw Red Kross once, walked out on them because they looked too happy.
Way too happy, and it's like haunted. It's like haunted them a little bit, so they finally like wrote that song in response, because it's just like
shit.
It's just like this. Yeah, this thing. They'll wake up and be like, "Man, what?" And they say it in the song. Like, what did he even mean by that?
Honestly, what was it? Too much fun, Kurt? Or did it bring too much joy into the room? Because that's how I feel when I watch them live.
Oh, sorry, we have fun playing.
thing is, they are happy.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's contagious. They wear fucking colored suits on stage. That's super fun. I don't know.
So yeah, I just found like that was a fun little tidbit in history about that song.
Amazing. Yeah. I never thought about the overlap because I mean they've been around for so fucking long. They've seen society's rise and fall.
They really have. They've outlived bands they've inspired. Another like crazy bit of information I didn't realize is like Stone Temple Pilots, a band again. They've seen that band fall, and they used to be a super serious grunge band, and then when they heard Red Kross, that made them decide to lighten up their sound, and that's why you get these like more positive, poppy sounding Stone Temple Pilots songs.
What a weird influence! I never would have guessed that one. I'm not big on them at all, but that's fun.
Neither, the Jim Croce, like they would have never ripped off that Jim Croce song.
Jim Croce.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it was like something I never thought about. And then when I read it, I could like connect the dots. I was like, oh yeah, I do hear like the like lifting Red Kross's style, borrowing very heavily from the 60s, 70s and like plugging that into a grunge aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Because it's funny, we're saying all that and you listen to this album and it is nothing close to grunge. I mean, it's
no. I guess I meant the grunge thing more on like Stone Temple Pilots.
I know what you mean, but like, looking at the things that it inspired or it influenced, it really doesn't sound like that at all. This is like, this is 60s garage rock pop. I don't know how else you can describe it. I mean, it's very straightforward. It's exactly that.
Yeah, the production is kind of crazy. I was thinking about that too. How 60s, 70s, this type of music was played by young men, but now you have guys in their 40s and
60s
50s probably, because they were like babies when they started Red Kross.
I'll find out right now.
But it's just kind of crazy how it's arguably a young man's music genre, and they're just these old dudes playing it at a high level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 57. So, and that's Steve when he started at 13.
Yeah.
So I imagine his brother is only a couple years older. But,
and again, this band's been around 45. Like this, they can say this has been the majority of their life. It's crazy.
Easily, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. But as for an album, it has. I think there's a lot of it that grew on me. There's a lot of it that I think stands out. There's a lot of it that's like, if I'd say across the board, and this is probably why you see this with like with bands that have rabid fan bases, which we now know that Red Kross has. I didn't realize they had it before we did our episode.
I had no idea. I would swear these guys were millionaires based on the.
So you see with bands with like really rabid fan bases, it's when a band does something super specific that is not going to appeal to everyone. I think of Ween. We're big Ween hits. Check out episode on Ween, where the fans. Or like, fucking Fish or the Grateful Dead or something like that. Like, I'm not as big on them, but you look at the fan bases and they're so fucking dedicated because it's this specific ass thing that is, I put this on in front of my lady friend. She doesn't like this, but I like it. So and I don't blame either side of it. Cause it's like, it's so poppy and it's so like, you can point to a lot of other bands that this might remind you of. But does it feel good? Does it put you in a good mood? A lot of these songs, I'm like, I could see why you hate that, but I fucking really like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably not gonna, I've been thinking about revisiting, Neurotica.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Third Eye.
Third Eye is the shit, man. Third Eye.
Yeah. Now that like I've had some space away from the band.
I still throw on like tracks from Team Babes, from Monsanto.
Oh yeah,
some of those covers are really fucking awesome. I mean, their cover of It Won't Be Long. I mean, it's still one of my absolute favorite covers ever.
yeah.
So there's even though most of it kind of revolves around the same field, there's still moments that kind of dip into other territory. The one that I think has the biggest departure is Emmanuel Insane.
Yes.
That's like the one, like, wait, this doesn't feel like it's on the same album as the rest, and it's at the very end of the album.
Yeah, it does and it doesn't, because that's where I had some fatigue, and then instantly when that came on, I was like, oh, this is something different, although, you know, it's done in the same vein. I almost thought it was gonna be like a dancey song the way it starts off. But you know, they get their foot firmly placed in that Middle Eastern psychedelic stuff, and I'm a sucker for that, so it's a thumbs up for me, especially when I was like, I don't know what they got left for me on this album, and they got that song.
Yeah, that one. I mean, the sitars are a pretty fun little addition I wasn't expecting. The main riff, real old school punk nerds are going to know this reference. That main riff really reminds me of the song "My Dad's a Fucking Alcoholic" by the band The Fix.
Interesting.
Great song, little obviously obscure punk band, and my brother and I, well, Robert and I would like to blast that song because of our we like to relate to the song, you know, with fathers and alcohol and whatnot. So the main riff really reminds me of that song. But there's other stuff here that's like so over the top, bubblegummy and poppy, but I can't help but love it, and that's The Shaman's Disappearing Robe. I fucking love that song.
Yeah, that one and The Witch's Last Stand, I lumped together because lyrically, because they're both the most whimsical, the most magical. Some people would even call it a magical mystery tour.
It's pretty magical, dude. The Witch's Stand is super acousticy. I don't know how else to more eloquently to put that.
Almost like in that like medieval vein, like Ween's is a green.
Hold on, if it's a Ween song and I don't know it immediately just by a vague reference, I'm not even a real fan.
Yeah, maybe
Buckingham Green.
Buckingham Green. Yes. There we go. Yes.
I don't know why. I mean, you said green. I don't know why I didn't immediately jump to one of the greatest songs ever fucking written. But
it made me second guess myself. I was like, do they even have a green song? Yes.
Oh, they sure do.
But yeah, that it's like when you say medieval, I think of bands doing stuff like that, or acoustic. Yeah.
Right. Which is it's a good one. It's a bit deeper than some of the other tracks there. Layer wise, it's got a lot of nice layers to it. Strong verses and a really nice chorus. It's pretty song. I dig it a lot. There's other stuff that I end up liking, but I don't. There's parts of it that irk me because of the Beatles-ness of it. But I still think I can't help it. Like, I mean, it's a good written song. I can't help it. And that's Simple Magic. I mean, Jesus Christ, the John Lennon vocals are like, oh, come on, man. He's just John Lennon on that song. But it's a well-written song.
That was one of the songs where I had some fatigue in, but I think singing about the song you're performing is kind of funny. So like you said, it has its charms.
There's a lot of charm here. There's plenty of things that I don't love. Like, after like second or third listen, I really it dawned on me that I don't like Candy Color Catastrophe, the opener, which is it's rough to have like an opener that I'm not really not into. But
I think because it's the first song, I think it comes out as well as I could hope for from this band. I like the it's like Beatles but extra fuzzy bass.
Yeah, it's fine. I was okay with it at first, but on multiple listens, it just didn't stick with me as much. I mean, the following track, Stunt Queen, I liked a lot more, and it has a lot more grit. A little bit more attitude.
Stunt Queen, at first I thought I didn't care for it, but it's a song where it warrants to keep going on because it grew on me a little bit.
A lot of these grew on me. Like What's in It for You grew on me. I found it to be like a pretty cute song, especially where it goes into that hoedown in the final minute.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts on the album. It's almost like if the Beatles turned into CCR, but they kept some like weird guitar effects going.
Mm-hmm. That the main riff to that one also weirdly reminds me of "Give Me the Cure" by Fugazi.
Interesting.
Like at first, it's obviously not the same riff. But when it first came on, I was like, "Oh, what are they covering Fugazi now?" It was more of like a reflex thought than an actual thought. But
yeah.
What do you think of Terrible Band?
I don't really care for it. I guess I could throw it in it's that like same almost like Sgt. Pepper's thing where I don't know if it's like a self-deprecating thing or if it's like about another band, but yeah, that's one of the ones I could do without on here.
I see. That's the thing. Like, I'm okay with the song. I'm fine with it. It's a little bit noisier than the rest, and I think it has a nice solo. But almost every song here, I can't get mad at loving it or hating it. It's just that band.
It's almost every song has the same formula. They are what like Slayer or Motorhead are to metal, but
kind of,
yeah, but for 60s 70s garage pop, like they are the ultimate Nuggets band.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. I want like it's exactly what it is. The way Slayer and Motorhead are to metal, this is to 60s garage pop, garage rock, garage pop, whatever. Yeah, so if you like it, then you don't need that much. All you need is just a new sequence of this type of riff, couple different vocal harmonies, and why the hell not? I'm not big on that. Like I as much as I love Nuggets, I kind of grew out of most of it. I mean, although if you put on Nuggets right now, I'd probably be very into it.
There's some bands on there that I would like to do, but it's especially at this point, it'd be like so hard to justify an episode about the United States of America. I think they were on Nuggets.
Man, there were so many little bands. Hilarious. Yeah. The Electric Prunes and shit like that.
Yeah, that's another one I think would be fun.
We did 13th Floor Elevators. I mean, way back when. Yeah,
they have a little bit more lore, a little bit more beef on them.
But Rocky Erickson, yes, they do. Check out that episode.
Yes. I think my favorite like whimsical song on here is Back to the Cave. And
oh yeah.
It's funny because that's their most ELO sounding song on the album, but then also ELO is like Beatles worship a little bit.
They are, but with their own little Jeff Lynne flair. Check out episode 1. I mean, good luck finding it. It's back in iTunes in the way back.
And then check out Unsung, I guess, check out their podcasts in general. They cover a lot of stuff we do with a different perspective, and I basically listened to ELO's whole discography again, and
Jesus Christ.
And we went a little more in depth on ELO's time, but those guys are rad. So
very sick.
That's a little easier to find.
Yeah. And speaking of ELO, and because of like those, I probably mentioned this in the past, how I would like to revisit the earliest episodes and to see if we still agree with our picks.
Or yeah, kind of like a redo.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not going to listen to all 14 of ELO's albums again or a third time for you, especially the stuff that came right after Time. Those albums were rough. Though I mean, those were the
I think there's maybe like one or two. Like, wasn't there like a double album that was kind of shitty?
Yeah, it was that. There were 2 albums. One of them was very long. The other one was a lot shorter, but equally bad. And I think that's when they broke up after those 2.
But definitely nothing entitled like Jeff Lynne's ELO or anything.
Those are like
after 2000. Yeah.
Jeff Lynne's Yellow is like, it's fine. It's average stuff. It's obvious. There's like a couple good songs per album, but the ones in the late 80s or like maybe mid 80s, yeah, those were like legitimately horrible. But it would be nice to revisit that and to give some production justice, because we have much better production now than we did back then.
We're gonna George Lucas our old episodes.
we gotta. We didn't settle on the format officially until episode 2, where it kind of started making sense. The music was like awful, like, and we're whatever. We had no idea what we were doing. It was literally over 5 years ago, but it would be cool to revisit. And then along with Devo, because I got to make some fucking amendments and change my picks, because I know for a fact I don't agree with what I said on the Devo episode. But anyway, back to this album. Yeah, there's like a lot of like little fun things here. A lot of things that kind of fucking grind me pretty badly. Like Too Good to Be True. Nope. I do not like that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I really like the verses, but man, the choruses repulse me.
Yeah, it's just nothing repulse. Like I was just like, I'm tired. Like, how am I supposed to have opinions about this? I've heard this song like 10 times right before it.
That's why I think, at least how I felt, space and repeated listens gave each of these songs a lot more character. And it's a similar effect on the brain, but a very different effect when it's going in, as if you're listening to something really extreme. Listening to something really extreme and hard to follow, you're just hearing a bunch of shit. It doesn't become a thing you can really recognize until you listen to it a bunch of times. But the thing is, you do that over a short period of time, it becomes exhausting. You space that out over time. You listen to it like, 4 times over the course of 1 week. Then all of a sudden you recognize the songs, and you can have like a little, it feels better to like, oh, I recognize that song. Turns out I don't like that song. Or like, this one isn't that bad. Actually, that's how I ended up feeling. Because when I first heard this album, I was like, oh man, I don't like this at all. It's just, it's just doing this thing. It doesn't have the same kind of punch that the last album had. And then heard it again, slowly heard it again. And it like osmosis, it just sort of seeps its way into it. It just sort of it finds its way in through the cracks of your mind and soul or something.
I think, like I said, just having time off from Red Kross made this more manageable for me. I could just be like, it is what it is. It's not for me, but what an achievement.
I'm glad Red Kross exists. I'm glad they're out there.
Because a lot of old bands can't. Like, this is for what they do, it's amazing. Like, we've covered so many reunion albums and older bands who are still recording, and they can't capture magic like this.
There's just certain bands that when they don't stop, because they had a pretty big gap before researching the blues, pretty big gap before then, but they don't really stop playing. There's something about, because they're all so heavily involved with the Melvins, and if you're surrounding yourself with a work ethic like that, you're just sort of always making stuff anyway. It doesn't really feel like quite as forced. It's just kind of what they do. Like, you're not up until Lemmy's death, you weren't getting annoyed by new Motorhead albums. Like, yeah, maybe you don't like it as much as the other ones, but like, they're fine, they're cool. If you like the band, you're like, it's like there's certain bands where Melody is a perfect example, where the more albums they put out, the less it hurts the reputation of the discography. Like certain bands where
the Pixies.
Yes, perfect example. You put out a bunch of albums, and all of a sudden, like, the legacy gets less and less kind of beloved. It becomes less important. Each album feels less weighty. You look forward to the next album less and less. And there's certain bands where you're just like, oh, cool, another one. The same thing with Melvins. There's another one every year. I'm like, fuck yeah, give me another one. I think Red Kross is that. I don't love them as much as those bands, because it's just not my style of rock in general. but it's the same kind of thing. Like, yeah, give me another Red Kross album. Fuck it.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with that. It's, they've carved out their niche. They've got their fans, and it's something they're still doing. So,
and none of them are watching this episode. So thank you so much for hanging out and watching, and go check out the album. It's out now.
I don't know. People are like, oh, I told so-and-so. I forget people see these. I apologize to every band I've
100%. It's mortifying. It's mortifying. It's very, very nice when they see it and they like it. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes they're like, fuck these guys. And you know what? That's just the life. I mean, I've said it many times. I make music too. Go talk shit about that too. I am not exempt. I am merely a guy talking in front of a camera for some fucking God knows reason. But yeah, check out the album. Go check out our full episode on Red Kross if you want to go back and do that. You can follow me on all social media at PanderMonkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
Don't forget to check out our history guy, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for his music and his podcast, Whatever Comes Next, where he interviews a bunch of really interesting indie musicians. Links to all that in the description. And my EP, go ahead and shit on my EP. There's a link to that in the description too. Patreon. Oh yes, baby. Patreon.com/everyalbumever. That's where you go. You get two bonus episodes a month. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we've covered next. I am saying this now so that I'm held accountable. The most recent poll, which has been up for way too long, it is now closed. We have decided a winner, and it's unprecedented in our poll history. What we have done, it's big news. Honestly, with that poll, we were settled on a winner for like 2 months, and then
something came from behind, and
something came and stole it.
Yeah.
But still, big episodes coming pretty soon. Big fucking highly requested episodes coming. So if you want to be a part of that, go to the Patreon. You can also be a part of our Discord, be a part of the community. Suggest new albums like this one from this year for us to do these shorter episodes on. And if you're tier 2, then you can suggest a full ass episode, full discography for us to cover on our bigger, longer numbered episodes. So go there, do that. Oh wait, in addition to that, you can suggest any album from any band, any discography ever, and we'll do bonus episodes on it. So there's plenty of perks. Go there, do that. Yes. Closing it out, if you don't mind, Alex.
Take the wheel.
It's got to be the main attraction. Got to be.
All right. Yeah, let's go.
Hell yeah. So thanks so much for listening and watching. See ya.